He's going really hard right now, and he doesn't even know his mic was off.
What's up, Elite Seekers? We out here. I love it. I love it. Today is going to be a good one. I'm not even worried about how we're starting off. But, hey, this means the regular season right around the corner. Unfortunately, it's not such a happy day for a lot of people with NFL dreams. It is NFL cut day, the final cut day. So we're probably going to see a lot more transactions as the week goes along. Something to keep in mind for everything we'll talk about today as we answer these questions. But I am pumped up and ready to rock because we definitely had a lot of things go down over the last day or over the last 24 hours that are really shocking. So, Brandon, man, how you doing? You ready to get into this?
I'm doing well, man. It's been a fun day. Been a long day work-wise, but I'm here, and it's going to be a fun day. Fun afternoon, evening. I don't even know what time it is anymore. It's going to be a fun evening and just talk about football. I think we all enjoy football. I think that's just what we want to talk about right now.
Yeah, we're ready. And JB, man, making another appearance on Elite Seekers. What's going on, man?
Yeah, happy to be here again, obviously. Been an exciting day between football, work, all that cool stuff. Just put my daughter to bed, so ready to talk some football with y'all.
Man, here we go. Appreciate you jumping on, man. It's definitely always great to have your insight. You know, if you guys don't know, go follow Jordan. Go follow Brandon. I'm sure you're already following Brandon if you're here rocking with us for these live shows. But if not, make it happen. And JB is my analytics guy. He is the guy behind the scenes that's just testing things out, having some fun with that, and really exploring, new ways to look at things. And I appreciate how you view the game of football and some of the other sports we've gotten a chance to talk about on the side. So let's get into this one, though. Brandon, what was the most shocking cut of the day for you?
Oh, shocking cut of the day for me. I know everybody probably wants me to say Cam Newton, right? We all want to say Cam Newton, but I think it's probably going to actually be more John Brown. I think that's the one that really kind of gets me, and it's not because he wasn't performing, right? It's just the simple fact of that was the guy that I thought would replace Nelson Aguilar in the offense in Las Vegas. I thought he was kind of the lid lifter of that offense. Yes, I know they have Henry Ruggs and his speed, but they didn't really use him in that way. They used him more in like the intermediate, deep kind of routes, but not like the go route. Like I felt like that was just kind of John Brown's go-to route.
17 yards per target wasn't good enough for you last year?
Clearly 17 yards per target was not good enough, right? That was top 5, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was up there, man.
Sure, it was up there.
Yeah. But I think this opens up an opportunity in Las Vegas. It makes, obviously, for a guy like Bryan Edwards, who some have kind of maybe written off. There was a lot of injuries there, so I'm not ready to write him off completely yet. Henry Ruggs obviously is in year 2 of his development. Ben, I know you're high on Henry Ruggs, so you're smiling over there. And they've also got Hunter Renfrow, right? I mean, it's not going to be – it doesn't have the flashiest of names in the offense, but I think it's going to be a very interesting offense. So, yeah, that's kind of I want to say probably my biggest cut.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. I actually heard last week that there was a chance that John Brown was going to be cut. And, you never know until these things actually happen. But it was definitely music to my ears. And I think Smoke Brown has been a great player, and he does, the deep route really well. But when you hear that, knowing that Nelson Aguilar was gone, and then you have Henry Ruggs, you have Bryan Edwards, man, those guys are going to get a chance to open up. Nobody's going to be the wide receiver one that goes to the tight end there, Darren Waller, right? But these guys have a huge opportunity to go out there and really grow and expand. And everybody's been pumping up at least Edwards this offseason, and some are hit or miss on Ruggs. But I'm telling you, those two together, there's room for both of them to really make a significant jump this year and make the Raiders look a lot better in the passing game. And say what you want about Derek Carr, but he's consistent, man. And he's got some talent. So I really do think this Raiders offense could look a lot better. You bring in Kenyon Drake as that number 2 running back. Darren Waller, thankfully, we were a little worried there. Was he going to be hurt to start the season? Is he good? He's good. So, I just am excited to see this. And I think Renfrow is probably a guy that is okay. He's like probably in that Beasley range, and he's going to give you some good games. It might be hard to predict. My thoughts are he'll be a good best ball guy because of the hard to predict games, but he'll be consistent. He's going to get some targets every single game. So I'm pumped up. I think that's a great call out for your most shocking cut because it really does open the door for some other young players to step up. I did want to say what's up. What's up, Sean? Appreciate you tapping in. Man, we love the support. So thank you so much. You got a question at all on any of these cuts, feel free to throw it in the chat here and we'll definitely get to it. And our guy, Marty's back. What's going on, man? He's out here. He's doing a rookie draft as we speak, multitasking. That's what we love to see. So love that. And Joey tapping in, letting us know what he thinks about the Smoke Brown cut. Wow, that he requested to be cut too. I don't know if I've ever seen that before, at least remember that happening. I don't know. Did it come out that Cam requested to be cut? Because I feel like that's probably a situation, but it's actually a pretty common thing for guys to be requested based on the depth chart or their role being announced. So I can't think off the top of the head, but this is something that we've seen quite a bit. You agree with that, fellas?
Yeah. I've heard it, kind of whispered after the fact. This one came, I believe before he was actually officially on the transaction list. But guys at their age of their career, he's 31. Guys that are at that stage of the career, they know kind of what the writing on the wall is. And, I think, for John Brown, he's trying to look to make sure that he's got the opportunity to jump in and be a starter. He still feels like he's still a starter. And this is maybe something that if we go to a guy that I'm sure many people want us to talk about, I have some thoughts on that one as well.
Yeah, I'll hold off on that one. I'll hold off. JB, man.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? Yeah.
Well, first of all, something that came to my mind when we were talking in our text chat, group chat, whatever you want to call it, is there a tampering rule in the NFL? Like, is John Brown, is he talking to other teams saying, or his agent talking to teams saying, hey, you'll be a starter over here, and maybe he asked to be released? I don't know. That's something just popped in my mind. I don't know if it works like the NBA does in that sense, but
there are tampering rules, but it feels kind of like at times the NFL is like the NBA when they have like that tampering window. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, are we going to really find a team because they're getting rid of a guy and he's trying to find work? Like,
essentially, especially when they're requesting release like that. It wouldn't surprise me, like you said, if Cam did the same thing once he learned he wasn't the starter, but I'm sure we'll get to that in a bit.
JB, what is your most shocking cut of the day?
Well, just to go off this whole John Brown thing, I am so pumped because I might be up there with the biggest Brian Edwards truthers there are. So I am super pumped for this. Just all the reports last year before he was hurt, the reports this year, Derek Carr obviously loves him, comparing him to his old teammate, Devontae Adams. I don't know. I'm very excited to see what a healthy Brian Edwards could do this year. But for my most shocking cut, I was looking while Brendan was talking. I saw some ones I didn't even know of. Let me get back to him real quick.
I have another one if you need a few more seconds.
No, I'm good. So I saw Des Fitzpatrick was cut from the Titans, which I thought was pretty weird. Maybe he wasn't going to be obviously the 1 or 2, but maybe he had a chance of being I don't know how much of a source he is. You can move around A.J. Brown, Julio Jones if needed.
And they brought Josh Reynolds in as well.
Yeah. So I guess at best he'd be the 4, but we just spent a 4th-round pick on him, and I understand that's day 3, but that first round, day 3, and just to let him go seems weird. The one that at least I pay attention to, I know most of our audience might, but defensive side of the ball, Carl Joseph got released from the Raiders too. I think it was a first-round pick a while back, and then played last year with the Browns. I know he's somewhat of a liability, but at the same time, he can play. That was a kind of a weird one for me, but most shocking's got to be Cam. My buddy and I had a bet. I told you guys that I said Mac was going to be the starter week 5, and here we are already. Not even week 1, he's already a starter. So, I mean, that's pretty much the release that set Twitter on fire, all of our chats on fire. We've been talking about all day. So,
yeah, that's definitely. I mean, that's going to be the talk of the town, right? Especially until we find out when and where Cam ends up next. Is he going to end up on a team? Is he going to end up in the booth? This is a talk me and Brandon were having before the show as well. I personally think he's going to end up on a team. You know, you've heard Dallas thrown out there as a potential backup. You know, you obviously have Houston out there who knows what's going on. Do they want to bring someone in like Cam who does have a personality, albeit he's a great leader. So that could be a good situation just to help develop guys. It depends what they think probably of Tyrod Taylor as well, because they already got Tyrod set and learning that system. So, man, it's going to be interesting. Do you guys have a feeling like, Brandon, you said potentially the booth. Is that something you really think is going to happen, or could you see Cam ending up on a team first?
I do think he could end up in a booth, and here's why. And it's nothing against Cam's talent, right? It's nothing against Cam the person. I had this conversation with Greg Garvin, so I'm not going to steal too much of his thunder for tomorrow. But the reason why I feel like Cam is going to go to the booth is because I don't know if he can accept the role of being a backup just yet in his career. Right. I think he still firmly believes he's a top 32 player. And at the end of the day, right now, we're 10 days from the beginning of the season? Who's going to bring him in right now and say, you know what, Cam, you have a realistic shot of being the starter? There just isn't, right? Like, yes, he's been talked about potentially going to Dallas. And there's a few other teams that it's like, you know, he'd actually be kind of good behind Ryan Tannehill. He'd kind of be cool behind Russell Wilson. He'd really be, you know, great behind Jalen Hurts. But at this point, which one of those 3 opportunities actually presents him with a starting opportunity? None of them. There's not really like, yeah, he could go to Houston, but they're kind of set in with Tyrod. They paid Tyrod a ton of money. And so for me, it's like I think his best bet is probably to just hang on the sideline, wait until somebody gets hurt. His agent makes that phone call and says, Cam's ready. He's been preparing. Even though he's on TV, he's prepared. He's ready to go. He's ready to step in. He's a seasoned vet. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's been an MVP before. But I just don't think that right now Cam's ready to be a backup quarterback.
Yeah, I think that pride piece, like for the same reason, I think is why I believe Cam is going to play again. I don't think he's ready to say, I'm done. Like we heard him all off season. What did he say? I'm finally healthy again. Like I'm ready to go. I'm ready to compete. I'm happy to have competition like Mac. And all words out there are that he was an incredible mentor to Mac in the time that they spent together this offseason. So I think this guy is going to, look for a place where he can go and be the solidified backup for a contender. And I don't know, like without quickly going over those, I don't know what spots that really qualifies for. You mentioned Seattle. It's kind of interesting, but I think Seattle also really likes Geno Smith. Say what you will about him, but he's been in the system for quite some time. You know, the few passes that he gets to throw in the preseason, he doesn't look bad. So, you know, I don't know if they would be willing to do something like that. But then you kind of think of, you know, the other opportunities where he could go in and maybe become a starter. So Jalen Hurts, we know that situation's been a little rocky. We've heard the ups and downs on that. Do I think that Jalen Hurts is better than Cam Newton at this point? Absolutely. And I think the ceiling is not even close if we're talking that. But again, you know, this is something that Cam's going to have to figure out. I think it's interesting to see, you know, maybe he sits on this a little bit, waits it out, sees what opportunities come up, because you're also hearing a lot of Deshaun Watson rumors again. So any type of Deshaun Watson trade really shakes up the league. So it'll be very, very interesting. And, you know, I'm curious to see what happens. I just can't see him jump into the booth because I feel like he's a guy, you know, that is ready to roll. And Brandon, you mentioned when we were talking off air, you mentioned Carmelo Anthony. I agree with that, man. I think that is a great analogy because Carmelo is a dog. He's an alpha. And Cam is a dog. He's an alpha, right? And that's a mentality that you don't just turn off. These guys are true leaders, true competitors, and they've been to the highest level, right? So and really crushed it at the highest level. So I think it's going to take some time for him to figure that out. But I think he will weigh his best opportunity to maybe go out there and help a team, even if it is as a backup. I think he wants to get that ring, and we'll see what happens. And Michael, I definitely disagree with this one, but I love the jokes all day. So Urban will sign him as a tight end. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Does he block Does he block like Tim Tebow? That's all we really
probably
need
a lot better. Probably a lot better.
I don't think he can work.
As long as he can chip block, I think he might actually be better than Tebow.
No, that's it. Before I jump into a couple of these questions, I just want to throw my shocking one out there, and that was Wayne Gallman. I really thought, like everything we heard, that he was going to be a piece of the pie, especially with Jeff Wilson Jr. sitting on the sidelines to start the year. It wouldn't have surprised me to see, Gallman potentially get cut down the road. But I definitely didn't see this one coming. And maybe that's what they were doing. They're like, you know what? At some point, Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to be there, and we're going to have to give these young guys a look now because later it's going to be tougher, and maybe they'll help. So this is really great news for Trey Sermon. This is really great news for Elijah Mitchell. Those guys are going to have a lot more opportunity. I still think Mostert is way too underrated in redraft right now. He is a guy that, when healthy, can absolutely explode for that team. He is as fast as they come, and just making those one cuts and turn them into 40-yard runs. Raheem Mostert is a big-time player. The issue always with him is health. So that's where I think Trey Sermon is also a good value in drafts right now. And Elijah Mitchell brings a completely different skill set. Shanahan's just going to play to win, right? So when Trey Lance hits that field, whatever the running game is looking like at that point, just make it go up a little bit more, because adding the dimension that Trey Lance will bring, you saw what it did early in Russell Wilson's career, having those RPO options, and it was devastating to defenses. And I think the running back stable that they have right now is going to be one that is going to be very interesting. So Wayne Gallman was a surprise for me because I thought he did pretty well. He wasn't special, but I thought he did pretty well last year for the New York Giants when Barkley went down.
One quick thing for Cam. What do you think about Washington?
If they wanted him, they would have already taken him. I feel like that was one of those. It's an easy apple to go reach for.
It is, but the opportunity's there too. I mean, Fitz obviously isn't consistent, and I know what's his name,
Taylor Heineke.
Thank you. He had a good playoff game and whatever, but who is he? If he really wants a spot to be on a contender and a chance to start, I think that's the best opportunity for him.
That's definitely an interesting one. Yeah, it will reuniting with Rivera, right? So that's definitely a potential depending on that relationship. And I think it just comes down to, what do they think of Heineke? Like, that's what it comes down to. We saw the one game, but what did they see this offseason as well? Are they really high on him? If they are, So it'll be interesting for sure. Let's jump into a couple of these questions here as well. Mark, seeing some chatter that COVID holdouts might be on the hot seat. Teams do not want to deal with that. Brandon, what do you think?
I just saw something about that apparently Urban Meyer, in a lot of his cuts, considered COVID vaccination levels in the Jaguar cuts, which maybe explains why they completely cut out 90% of their wide receiver room. Which was another guy. That was actually another guy I was actually pretty surprised got cut, was Colin Johnson. I thought he had a pretty solid offseason. I heard some rumblings, heard the drum beat that you want to hear, and then all of a sudden he's now gone. I dropped this in the Destination Devy Discord, and we had some conversation too around it in our group chat. There's going to be some very interesting repercussions for those who are not vaccinated. The NFL is a private corporation. It is not public. It's not publicly traded. So they can kind of tell their employees what they can and can't do in order to receive a paycheck. And they came out with a very strong, stern memo today that basically, for the too long, don't want to read crowd, basically, if you're unvaccinated, you have to be tested. Everybody's tested every once a week. If you are unvaccinated, you have to wait until your test comes back. and that can take up to 5 days. So if you're thinking about in a calendar week, if we're talking about being vaccinated, not being vaccinated, and then getting a test, you're not getting in the office until, depending on the week, could be as early as if you have a Thursday night game, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So you're not in the office until potentially Tuesday or Wednesday. If it's a Monday night game, right? If these numbers are correct, and I read this correctly, you're talking about you might not be in the facility until Friday, Saturday of a Sunday game. That's not ideal. And I think and I'm not saying that this is going to pressure every player into doing it. There's still going to be some who are unvaccinated, but it's going to be a very uphill challenge. I mean, there was some other crazy rules. It's like you can't take an Uber if you're unvaccinated. You can't have certain amenities that vaccinated people would have afforded luxury to. Non-vaccinated people during the season don't have access to those things. So it's going to be very interesting. Obviously we saw a lot of pushback with people with the whole vax, unvax. We've already went through the whole Cole Beasley situation, so we really don't need to go all the way through that. But there's going to be far more of that situation and how that affects. And I'm not going to get into the political football side, but from a fantasy perspective, if there's ever been a year to have depth on your squads, especially your championship teams, this is the year to have it, because it seems like there's not going to be these pushback to Tuesday and have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday games. They're just going to play. And it doesn't matter if you're able to play or not. And if you have guys who are on the COVID list, you're going to be up a creek without a paddle, and you're just going to have to be flexible. So if you're building a championship roster, you're really going to have to build the roster from 1 all the way down to probably about 23, 24, whereas most times like your 20 to 30 in Dynasty are kind of just like dart throws that you hope might happen. You might actually need a few of those guys this year.
Yeah. Jumping into Jacksonville there. So they really only have 2 outside receivers now. You got Marvin Jones, you got Chark. So you have LaVisca. Are we going to see him lining up a little more on the outside? I don't know. Tavon Austin, is he really even a wide receiver anymore? That's one of their receivers. And then you got Jamal Agnew that they picked up from the Detroit Lions, former cornerback that kind of made the switch at the end of the season for the Lions. He's intriguing, but again, you got to see in the next 24 hours, they got to be picking up another outside receiver, you would think, just based on what's going on, or it's going to be so run heavy and so many short passes that, we're really going to be looking at something interesting. And that's possible too with Irvin, right?
Well, and I think that's why ETN's injury is so big, because I think they were actually going to try to use ETN more in the run him out of the slot, run him out of the back. I think they were going to really try to use him as a Swiss Army knife. And now, because he's out, now you're one less person. And that's why I think Colin Johnson being hurt, that kind of hurts them, because, they obviously could bring him back, but I don't like where the Jaguars are going personally from an offensive standpoint. I'm not going to tell you go fade the Jags into oblivion. But if you're not comfortable right now with the Jags, I was looking at some trades earlier. I was having some conversations. If you can maybe trade Trevor Lawrence for, I don't know, Trey Lance in a first, you can maybe even go back a little bit further. Maybe if you're a Tua believer and get Tua a first and a dart. I don't know. I'm not saying like you need to be all on the fade train, but there are some elements of right now short-term Jags hesitancy with Urban Meyer at the helm that I don't know that we're going to necessarily see the best Trevor Lawrence right now.
Yeah, that'll be interesting for sure. JB, what's up?
Yeah, one of the cuts that really surprised me too was Treadwell. Obviously, a name we all know in Dynasty that we're disappointed in, but at the same time, he was doing pretty well in practice. There were some good catches in preseason, so I was kind of surprised when that came across my notifications. But one thing to keep in mind is the NFL waiver wire doesn't work like our fantasy ones do. So when we have the number one claim and we get our guy, we go to 12 or whatever at the end. That's not how it works for the NFL. So if the Jaguars put in 3-4 claims for different guys, they could get them all. They have the number one priority for everyone across the board. So that could be something to really look out for right now.
Yeah, that's a great call. I think they got a lot of openings, and you can't see them rolling in with these playmakers that they currently have. I think depth is going to be an issue. You've already seen DJ is dealing with some injury issues. Again, I mentioned Tavon Austin. Jamal Agnew is a guy that is still transitioning. So it'll be interesting. I thought Jalen Camp had a chance to earn a role. He's probably going to be someone that they try to slide into the practice squad, is my guess, because there was a lot of great reports. Crazy athlete. And definitely it sounded like he had a good camp, but we'll see. Practice squad, or does he get scooped up by someone else? My guess is he has a chance somewhere else. JB, you want to take this one here? Jared Doak's cut hurt my soul, Michael.
Yeah, I know Mike has him probably everywhere and loves the guy, but I don't know. We talked
Was it
about
ever going to happen?
I doubt it. I mean, it would have been a cool story and good for our fantasy teams, but they were loaded enough as it was there. I mean, Malcolm Brown muddied things up, but you guys are so high in Gaskin, you converted me to a Gaskin fan, so I have him in half my redraft leagues now, so thank you, too.
Let's go.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
But, I mean, it would have been cool to see him get some carries here and there and show what he's got, but I don't think it was really going to happen.
I mean, he can still get on the practice squad. I think it was way more of a dart than people wanted it to believe. He's 7th round pick. There are very few of them. I mean, Chris Carson's the only one that I can think of right now that comes to my mind. J-Rob was later. He was undrafted.
Yeah.
I mean, it's harder. It's harder to get to the pinnacle.
Yeah, keep those questions coming, you guys, and we'll continue to pick on what we're seeing here. Jake said wheels all the way up on Brian Edwards. JB loves that one. I think it's a great call. Seeing Smoke Brown not be there, I think Ruggs and Brian Edwards to the moon. So I'm very excited to see both of them make a big jump. Not wide receiver ones at this point. I don't know, JB, maybe you have Brian Edwards way up there, but definitely not wide receiver ones. But I expect a massive jump in their value to go through.
Startable. He'll be now startable. Let's. He was unstartable. He's now startable.
Yeah. So this is a good one. I like this. I'm very, very familiar with DeReese Fountain. Reese is a guy that actually my friend from the hometown was his wide receiver coach and had a lot to say about him. And he dealt with a lot of injuries early on with the Colts. I believe he was a 4th round pick, somewhere around there, give or take. But if you guys can look that up to get us exactly, it's been a couple years. So I like it. I think seeing who got cut from Kansas City. So if we can pull up the receivers that we saw get cut,
he was
5th round pick for Reese. Yeah, there you go. So I knew it was right around there. But he was talented, man. And I think what you started to see after some devastating injuries early on in his career is you heard a lot of chatter from the Colts organization about how much they liked him and he was really starting to figure things out. But, no draft capital, fighting his way onto a roster like Kansas City is always going to be interesting. I think the skill set's there. What do you think, JB or Brandon? I'm going to pull up quickly just some of his measurables.
You want this one?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I have much to say. I think he's, like you said, he was injured in Indy, but I feel like he also had some chances there and didn't do much. I mean, I was pretty high on him coming out because he's athletic. I mean, it's always nice to have out of a receiver. And the Colts, they really didn't have much there at the time. But Mike Straight, that's I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Mike Strachan.
Strawn.
That's how you say it like that. I think he's the better dart throw, to be completely honest. I mean,
it's not even close. Yeah. Sean is a dude that I think is really going to garnish some targets. But looking at Fountain, looking back here, right? His burst score, 98th percentile. So big time burst score there. Catch radius, also 95th percentile. Coming in at 95th percentile for arm length at 34-inch arms. And he just does things pretty well. 36% college dominator. So he was a solid prospect coming from a small school out of northern Iowa there. So he's definitely just the fact that he made that roster, I think is interesting. I don't think he's somebody that you even have to go out and pick up. you feel like stashing him in a deep league, I mean, go ahead. But I don't think he's getting rostered anywhere, even in deep leagues right now. But I do like mentioning him as somebody to pay attention to.
He was a cool preseason DFS pick. Mm-hmm. But I would but give me Byron Pringle or give me DeMarcus Robinson before I go after Jarice Fountain.
Yeah,
that's just. I mean, somebody's going to have to take over that wide receiver 2 role, and Mecole Hardman's just not it. Let's just call it what it is. Like, sorry, friends, he's a best ball target. He is not going to be a consistent week out fantasy producer. But somebody's going to have to be that third option behind Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Is it going to be Clyde? Is it going to be Hardman? Is it going to be Pringle, Robinson, Fountain? Somebody's going to take on those 4 to 6 targets, and whoever ends up getting it will have certain weeks where it's going to be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I apologize. I had the Indy Colts on my mind, which is why I brought up Strawn. Clearly, we were talking about the Chiefs, so I apologize for that.
You are good. All good, man. All good. But yeah, Michael Strawn, somebody that I absolutely love. You got to see a glimpse of what he can do in the preseason. He had a massive catch a couple weeks ago where he just went up and mossed the guy that was in great position. But he's 6'5" and great arms. So somebody that I think
he reminds me of Marcus Colston.
Yeah,
that's what he reminds me of. Frame size 6'5", 220, so a little bit smaller than Colston. Colston was more 6. I think he was like 6'4", 250. If I remember correctly.
He was a tight end.
He was a little bit heavier coming out, but same kind of frame size, same kind of big possession. Just would beat you up on the outside if he had to. Drew Brees made him fantasy relevant for a while. I'm not saying that Mike Strawn's going to be the fantasy relevant guy, right? They got Michael Pittman. T.Y.'s hurt, so Strawn probably walks into a potential Y role right out of the gate.
You got Pascal, they announced as starting as well.
He's just another guy.
You got Paris Campbell there too in the slot.
Yeah, if he could beat out Pascal. I think he can. It's not hard to do.
He's on the COVID list, so if he misses any time, it could be an opportunity for Strawn to step up.
And if there's anything that Carson Wentz loves, it's throwing the deep ball to the big possession wide receiver. Just gonna leave that one. Just gonna leave that one in there for you. Is that he likes big possession wide receivers? See Travis Fulgham, see JJ Arcega-Whiteside, see every big wide receiver that he just throws jump balls to.
Yeah. No, Strawn is going to be one that I'm paying attention to. Anytime you're talking about a 98th percentile college dominator, yes, we're coming from a small school, but he did what he needed to do against his competition, finishing with that 54.7% college dominator rating. So he's a beast at a small school, and, he's been flashing already in the preseason. So that's all you can ask for from a rookie. And I'm excited. Definitely a guy that I have stashed in a ton of leagues.
And Ben, who's his godfather?
Hey, Mr. Irvin.
Well, there you go. That's really
Michael Irvin as a godfather is hey, you gotta love it, man. There's got to be some knowledge passed on there. So that's great to see. So Strawn, shout out to Mike Strawn, big one. We got another shout out here. Iowa Michael. Michael said, man, it's not related, but my coworker's brother made the Green Bay 53 today as an undrafted free agent. Big ups, Jack Heflin. Let's go. Shout out to Jack Heflin. Man, it's crazy. You get to see so many of these cool stories, man. Imagine just being an undrafted free agent, having to fight your way. It's already such a long shot just to get drafted, but then to make it as an undrafted free agent. A lot of those guys end up doing really well too, because they got this little chip on their shoulder that they got to prove the world wrong. And once you make that first hurdle, your confidence starts to build. So then you're part of the team. So shout out Jack Heflin with the Green Bay Packers. I love it, man. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate you. What's up? Willie Beeman in the house. What's going on, man? I love it. I love it. Oh, man. Michael is coming in with the heat today. Khalifa, you got to make us talk about Khalif Raymond, man. Trending on Sleeper.
At work.
Man, what's going on? Brandon, I'm passing Khalif Raymond to you, man. Is he worth anything? Why is he trending?
He's probably trending because Dead Fitzpatrick got cut, and then now they probably feel like he's going to be.
He's not even there anymore. We're not on that team.
He's on
Where
the
is he at?
Lions. I had to look. He's on the
Where's he
Lions.
at?
He's the Detroit
Oh,
Lions, bro.
they got rid of Parrot again. Another. What are we
He's
throwing there? You were trying
Tyrell
to.
Williams bothered by a
Get
groin
on,
injury.
Lions,
Sorry, I was
bro.
picking up Marquez Callaway for some reason. Somebody thought it would be a good idea. Listen, somebody thought it'd be a good idea to drop Marquez Callaway in a best ball league, and so I was, Lions.
I'm gonna keep going with these.
Listen, all right. So you know what? We're giving me a hard time. JB couldn't even remember Doris Fountain had already left the Colts in Kansas City. All right. So this is why this is Elite Seekers, right? This is what we do. We don't care that we make mistakes. We don't care, like, we're not perfect. We're just having some fun. We're just enjoying fantasy football. You know what?
Is this around the horn? Can I mute Brandon for a minute? just
dock those points.
Dock the points, man. Oh man.
Can we take a second though before we mediocre seekers?
not mediocre seekers.
Can we take a second though? Can we take a second? Because I put it in the private chat. Can we take a second for Dan Campbell? Thank you very much for being like every person who's played Madden's dreams and does not have a kicker right now on the roster. Can they just keep it that way? Please, can we just keep it that way? So we have to go for 4th downs and go for 2 on everything? Like, or even drop kick punts? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, it is. They have no kicker. They literally waived both kickers. They have nothing left.
Do they have a punter?
I don't even know if they have a punter. Just go for it every time. Just literally go for it every time. I don't even care. Like,
y'all keep these comments coming for Brandon too, because you know what? He already dug himself in the hole with Khalif Raymond, and now he's got Team Kicker Nation coming at his head on Twitter.
That's perfectly fine. That's fine. I'm coming. It's all good. But can we just not have can we just take a deep second here for Dan Campbell? Completely, first off, comes out in his introductory press conference talking about biting people's knees. Then he just waves all his kickers because he doesn't really think that he must not think that kickers are people. It's just it's refreshing to see. Yeah, pour one out for the kickers. Yes, we're having our toast right now. We're having one out, pouring it out for the kicker. Taking a shot of water here for the kicker. I'm sure they're probably going to sign one tomorrow. Yes, Pat McAfee's coming. That's great. If Pat McAfee comes for me, that's perfectly fine. You know what? Tweet him the link right now, Mike. Tell him to come on in. We'll have a conversation with good old Pat McAfee.
Man.
But it is just, I just found it completely odd. And I was right up there with the John Brown. Maybe I should have let off with this one. But that was, no kickers. Come on now. What are we doing? This is the NFL. This ain't like the Arena League. But I think let's get back on track.
I like it. I appreciate you, Evan, jumping in here, getting us back on track. 16-team Superflex League. Dang, let's go. Someone paid $90 of their free agent bidding money out of 100 for Huntley. We're not talking about Caleb Huntley here. We're talking about Huntley for the Baltimore Ravens, the new backup to Lamar Jackson. That's the level of QB hoarders we have. Literally every backup is rostered. Hey, you know what, Evan? It's crazy, but man, I was having this talk with Jay Rich in our little secret chat or whatever that we got, and these guys are here. They know. I was telling Jay Rich about Mr. Huntley, and he's looked really good this preseason, being 23 years old. If you are someone that thinks Lamar could miss some games, you're talking about Lamar Jackson, that best runner from the QB position in the NFL, but you've seen him take some big hits. So there's always that concern when you have a mobile quarterback. And then you're also looking at potential, COVID season. So we could see quarterbacks that miss time due to this. You hope it doesn't happen, but we're definitely in that reality now. Huntley's interesting, real interesting. So 90 is crazy. But if we're talking about 16 team Superflex. That's a whole lot of quarterbacks. So I would expect that majority of these guys are going to be rostered, and Huntley in Dynasty is going to be one of my favorite backups to roster. Kind of came out of nowhere, kind of came up quickly, but I like what I saw in limited playing time this preseason. JB, any thoughts on Huntley? Have you looked at Huntley very much?
No, I haven't. I mean, 90% of your fab before even week one seems excessive, but if that's how the league is, that's how it is. I mean, I'm only in one 16-team league, and it's only one quarterback, and there's been times where I don't have a quarterback, so I totally get this. I mean, just in our one QB league, most of the backups, probably half of them are rostered. So I mean, if this is how the league is what it is. I mean, this like you mentioned, this isn't a bad one to have.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just the beast of what a 16-team league is going to do as a super flex league. Quarterbacks are just crazy to get. I'm sure running backs are equally as tough to get. So you're going to see a lot of guys that typically are not rostered. Yeah, 90%. But if you don't, are you really going to get it? I'd be curious, Evan, if you're still with us. Let us know what the second place bid was. I'd be interested to see if that 90 was just so far out there, or if it was kind of in that range, someone else kind of went after with at least half. So, but definitely a good point. I think Huntley is a guy that I've been paying attention to, and I scooped up in a few leagues. So I do like it. 90% of your money there early on is tough, real tough. Jumping over to Joey's question, he said, I heard y'all touch on Des Fitzpatrick. Where would be an ideal spot for him to land? I liked him coming out of school. It just didn't work with the Titans. So, B, what do you think are some real quick too, right before we get into an ideal landing spot for Dez, Evan got back to a second place 75. So you see, if he really wanted him, I think that was a fair bid, and kind of reading that type of league. Quarterbacks are just tough to get. I like Huntley a whole lot better than a lot of these washed up backups that we got out there. So some upside for sure. But thank you, Evan. Appreciate that, man. But yeah, back to Fitzpatrick. B, what do you think is an ideal landing spot for you? Do you think he ends up with the Titans practice squad? Because we're going to see a lot of guys end up on practice squad. Or you think he gets scooped up somewhere?
I think he probably goes back to the Titans as a practice squad. I think they're going to want him. I don't think they're going to want to spend the 4th round draft pick when they could have gotten Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tylan Wallace, others that will probably end up producing from the day 3 group in the wide receiver category. Another place that we've already talked about that I think would probably be a location that would be interesting is Jacksonville, in the same division, right? We just said they don't have many outside wide receivers. Obviously, we know DJ Chark is not exactly the model of health. Neither has been Laviska Shenault, which has kind of been the ding on him ever since he's come out of college, right? So there's going to be there's potentially going to be opportunity there. We're looking at places where you're looking for a place that only requires one domino to fall in front of you in order for that person to become fantasy relevant. And for Dez, I think that's a location for me, because Agnew's probably going to be a special teamer. So there's really only 4 wideouts. So somebody like Dez could fit there. I don't know. Maybe I'm just spitballing here. Maybe there's a better situation. I know a lot of people will say Detroit, but I don't necessarily think they're really going to. I don't know that I think they're comfortable with where they're at.
I really like. I'll jump in real quick, JB. Mine's just quick. I do like the Jacksonville call. They're going to need some outside guys, but he's very similar in build and style of play to Marvin Jones. Obviously, Marvin Jones is a lot more polished, but he is a similar type player. Pretty average athletically, but definitely good enough to get open and create some separation. And he has some good production in college. So I do think that Jacksonville is an interesting call out. JB, over to you.
I was going to say the Lions. I know Brennan touched on it already, but I mean they're rebuilding from the ground up. They can throw a dart and hit on a guy like this. Why not? I mean, I don't know how all the waivers for dropping guys or releasing them like this and signing the practice squad, what priority they have. But I mean, if the Lions want another receiver, they got room, and why not?
Yeah, definitely. Do you think, are the Saints looking for another receiver? They cut Hogan. Who else did they cut today? They got little Jordan Humphrey. We talked about Callaway, Michael Thomas coming back later, Trico there, Deontay. Might be too deep, but they also have Ty Montgomery there. So
I don't think.
I don't know. Probably not. Yeah.
I don't think they are. I don't think they are. I think they're comfortable with what they got.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to roll. But maybe we jump into the next question, speaking of the Saints.
Let's jump into the next one here. Where we at? Okay, gotcha. Jake says, pick Tony Jones up after Sean Payton's comments on him last week. I'm still not very familiar with the player. this kid have a real shot at the number 2 role? B, what do you think? Yes? No? Tony Jones?
I think he has a legitimate shot. The Saints did not cut Latavius Murray. Doesn't mean that it can't happen. We have noticed, and I believe Ray Garvin and Jordan Richards talk about this on Wake Up with Ray, that second spot behind Alvin Kamara. Kamara's not your traditional number 1 back role where you turn around, hand the ball to him 15, 20 times, and then you give him 8 to 10 catches. He's more of that elite hybrid role. And so there's been about 150, 160 touches given to Latavius Murray a year, and that's number 2 role. So if Tony Jones is that number 2, not saying like he's going to be somebody who you're going to run out there week in, week out, but I mean, he's going to be the kind of guy like a Gus Edwards, right? Was to J.K. Dobbins, where he can provide you a couple weeks of solid best ball value, but I don't necessarily think he's going to be instantly a guy that I want to insert into my lineups unless I have really, really deep lineups. Like I would ask you the question, and maybe this is a question for all 3 of us, if JK wasn't down, would you have taken Gus Edwards or a guy like Tony Jones?
I would have taken Gus too. Just answering
knowing
that.
Their situations, right?
Yeah, I mean, we already knew Gus was going to get touches regardless of JK being there or not. We already saw that last year. Them resigning him obviously solidified that. I guess I'll let you answer that question, Ben.
Am I taking Gus or Tony Jones prior to JK?
Mm-hmm.
Gus easy.
Okay.
Yeah, Gus
right,
easy. I think I don't know enough about Tony Jones yet, aside from looking pretty dang good in the preseason. I don't trust what Sean Payton says. He's the master of words. So to see Latavius Murray not get cut, which I think is probably a good move because you got to have some depth. I believe you got to light a fire under Murray, right? Like Murray has been the master of consistency for the Saints the last 2 years. We have seen nothing that says that's going to be very different aside from Sean Payton saying this one comment, right? And Tony Jones having a good preseason. Outside of that, I'm not ready to say Tony Jones is the dude, but hey, they're going to run. They got an incredible line. They have, definitely a high ceiling, but Gus Edwards was a guy we kind of knew what we were getting already. So I think that's why I would easily lean Gus before the injury even.
Sure. Okay. I mean, I have a couple other, little ones, but let's get some questions. I got a couple other, would you rathers.
Yeah. With Tony Jones?
Yeah.
What you got?
Would you rather, maybe we can get the chat in on this one, right? Would you rather, and this was one that I actually talked about with Ben beforehand. Right now, current situation. Would you rather have Tyson Williams from Baltimore? Would you rather have Tony Jones in New Orleans? Or would you rather have Quadri Olison, who is the number 2 in Atlanta?
That's a good one. Let's see what the chat says on this.
So you have Quadri Olison, you have Tony Jones, and you got the now newly number 2 Tyson Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Or Tyson Williams, sorry. They're all interesting, right? Because they all have some level of value.
Yeah, this one for
but
me.
You can only roster one.
I'm definitely going Tony Jones on this one because I think you're talking about all unknowns here, and the opportunity is going to be the greatest for the Saints. So it's definitely I'm going with Tony Jones. I think we've seen Olison and Michael. Hey man, appreciate you for saying that, but I think Mike Davis was pretty consistent last year when CMC went down, and I think they're okay with being a bad team in Atlanta. So he's going to be there. He's going to do his job and keep Mr. Ryan safe from getting absolutely destroyed, and that's really what being able to run the ball a little bit, catch some balls. I just don't see it from Quadri. So I don't know. Anybody have anything different there? Anybody agree with Michael on this one?
I don't agree with Mike. I mean, nothing against him, but I'm right there with you, Ben. I'd rather have Tony Jones. I mean, I made this decision in multiple of my leagues. I cut Williams for Jones. Sorry, Mike. But I mean, I didn't even consider Olsen, to be honest. I mean, like you said, Falcons aren't a very good team. Their defense isn't very good. They're going to be throwing a lot,
Yeah.
and Mike Davis is good enough. I don't know unless he really gets hurt and Olsen has the opportunity. But even then, I don't think Olsen's very talented.
I mean,
And the reason-
if you're predicting injuries, then if you're like all three of the top guys go down, you're still going to take Jones because of that offensive line, like the scheme of that team and everything. Like it just seems like if we're putting them on that level, unless you really believe in Quadri and think that he is going to be a guy that can steal, quite a few carries away from Mike Davis, which I just don't see that. I think they're committed to Mike Davis this year.
And the reason why I asked this is only because everybody sees all three of them on their top 15 for sleeper. And you're probably wondering, okay, well, why are they up there? And it's because nobody's rostering them and they're all free at this point. And, and you're kind of making a decision after cut day here. We're in cut day and we're trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to round out the bottom of our roster? Who has the most upside that if one of them jumps on, I'm not even looking at the chat because I don't want to even know yet. But if one of them jumps and becomes the lead role, are they actually going to be in a situation like Gus Edwards where they're instantly in the starter spot and you could potentially either get rid of them for a good pick, or do you ride them as a good flex pick into your championship, right? So it's not that big of a deal. But it's a question that we have to ask ourselves as we're rounding out our rosters that you're going to probably see all over, social media with Twitter, people trying to figure out who Tony Jones is, who is Tyson Williams. Like we just don't know because we don't have a ton of film on them. And so, they've looked they looked the part. They're number 2 in what is, Baltimore's a run heavy offense. New Orleans wants to be a run heavy offense, and Atlanta's just, I don't even know what's going on there, but somebody's got to be relevant outside of Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley. So that's why I asked the question. It's just a conversation starter that we probably should think about as we're rounding out our rosters.
Man, it's actually kind of interesting looking at player profiler, looking at Tony Jones' best comparable, Travaris Cadet, man. Haven't heard that name for a while. So very interesting. Someone that played for the Saints and kind of just seemed to stick around, had some fantasy relevancy at moments, but definitely very interesting. And yeah, Brandon, the principal.
This chair is not
the
principal
chair. Can you be the fantasy football principal, the FF principal? I like that Twitter handle. I like it.
No, thanks. I'm good.
Man.
No, hang on. Check private chat. I think we got somebody who wants to jump in.
Goodness. Here we go. What's going on?
Now it's really about to get rolling.
Here we go.
Yeah, let me
Here we go.
Wait a minute.
What's going on, Ray? I see it says Jay Rich down there. I said, what is going on? Let's go.
I'm coming through, all right?
Yeah, you coming through.
All right.
All right, cool. What y'all talking about?
So let's ask Ray the question. Ray, you got to roster one of these three. You got to roster Quadri Olesen, Tony Jones, or Tyson Williams.
I got only roster one.
Only roster one.
You talking dynasty or just like redraft? What you talking?
Dynasty.
Probably Tony Jones, man.
Okay. That's where we all landed, but
Tony Jones would be the one.
Yeah, that was
what we said. Why do you choose Tony Jones over the other ones? This is we've been having this conversation for a few minutes, so I agree with you, but curious on your thoughts.
I think his when you open training camp or the first preseason game you play, and you're the starting running back, you're opening up with the ones right off the bat with an established rusher and Latavius Murray behind you. When you open like that, that tells me if J.K. Dobbins never got hurt, we don't hear Tyson Williams' name. Or if we heard it, he's still the RB3 and you're not wasting the roster spot on him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think valuing him over, like, I think that's injury based. A lot of it is an injury based value right now. You know, he's got an opportunity now, but had Dobbins not gone down, I don't think he was going to get that burn. Tony Jones, who's the other guy? It was Tony Jones and then somebody else.
Quadri.
Yep. Yeah, Quadri. I mean, I think we've seen enough. Like, I've seen enough of him early in his career. He's a worse version of Jamal Williams. Like, I'm good on rostering somebody who's only a backup and his only role is if the spur goes down. Tony Jones should have a role regardless if Alvin Kamara gets hurt or if he plays the entire season, because the Saints have never treated Kamara like a 300 plus carry type running back. Like, they don't utilize him like that. That's why he's had 80 targets back-to-back seasons, like, or however many reception, 100 targets, 80 receptions, and 80 receptions back, some shit like that. Like, that he's got his role. Tony Jones, they have always used a two-back rotation type deal. You know, Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara. And when you're running over a Latavius Murray off the rip, that just tells me that you earned your playing time. You did enough to sort of earn that role, and I have more confidence that he has a role moving forward.
Yeah, I like that, because one of Brandon's questions was like sub in Gus Edwards for Tyson Williams, and before the J.K. Dobbins injury, are you taking Gus? And I said, yeah, I'm probably taking Gus out of those guys because I've seen what Gus brings to the table before the J.K. injury. Now Gus obviously jumps into that RB1 role there, and Tony Jones is that guy where, I mean, if you just look at the eye test, like, he looked great this preseason. He's a guy that comes in and Sean Payton may or may not be saying some of these things to kind of light a fire under Murray, but he's also not going to say that and not give a shot to Tony Jones, right? Or say that, you know, if Tony Jones was not doing the right things for the team. So I definitely like that, you know, and I just can't see picking up a backup running back on just an awful team that's not going to be able to consistently run the ball like you'd want anyway with Atlanta. So being Allis in there. So that's definitely an easy one for me. But man, these comments are coming in for you, man. You see? Oh yeah. We got Joey said, Ray.
What's up, man?
Jake Somerville. Let's go, Ray.
What's up, man?
And you already know Michael's in here talking trash. Is that Takashi or comment? And then he already deemed in this episode Brandon is the fantasy football principal now because of how he sits in a chair. So he said we definitely getting in school suspension at least. Principal Brandon caught us smoking.
Oh my gosh, he is sitting like the principal. That's funny.
Yeah. Oh man, it's too good. But
hey,
yeah,
Mac,
man.
A question for everybody listening, man. Do you got any plans for the analytical database this fall, including some younger cats earlier? You know, I went there the other day trying to find Treylon Burks' breakout age just for something. I was like, okay, I don't think he's like. What are your plans for the expansion of that project this fall, bro?
Yeah, so specifically for that, I'm gonna try to update that with players as frequently as I can. Hopefully I can do it once a week, I want to say. But the stats, I know at least for the raw stats, it won't be too difficult. But for the percentages with all the formulas and stuff I have behind the scenes kind of, I think I might wait till year end for that.
Okay, got you. Guess it makes sense. Why spend a bunch of time doing that midway when you're going to have to update it it's like the data won't be good at the end of the season, so you might as well. So I'm just excited to see what you bring to the table, man, to keep adding stuff, and kudos to you and the work and everybody listening. If you ain't a part of the squad, it's to support these dudes, man. You know what I'm saying? It's to give them an opportunity to get they content out to y'all so Ben can do this show, so Jordan can build this database. So make sure y'all go over patreon.com/allgas, get access to his database, bunch of dope stuff in there, hit rate tables like ADP. It's really dope. Check it out. And Ben, thank you for dropping the link to let me jump on Elite Seekers. And Marty, what's up, bro? Salute, man. What's up, fam?
Marty's coming out here all the way from East Coast. He's out there past Jordan in Canada. So Marty is one of the dopest. He reached
Marty,
out.
one of the good people. Yeah, baby.
He is, man. Look, he said, Ray, follow me, bro. I don't want all my business on these fantasy streets. He's a good one though, man. Definitely a real good dude. So it's crazy. Me and Marty talked about it. A guy he played football against growing up was actually my best friend when I first moved up here to Canada, and my barber when I moved out here, all the way on the West Coast. So it's crazy how much of a small world it was, but Marty is a great dude. Jake says, thanks for putting me on to Chris Evans, Ray. Kid had himself a nice preseason. Excited to see what he brings this season.
Man, and I can't take full credit. Brandon and Jordan, y'all remember before the season last year when I shared that document with y'all? I'm not gonna say what it was. Remember his name was on there, and then I was like, yo, don't sleep on him. My boy that,
we ain't saying nothing.
No.
I talked about Chris Evans way before, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
there was another guy on there too. There was another guy on that list that we all were like, and he's now there was a guy that's now in Houston as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
He was out there too.
He was on that list.
He was on the top of the list.
Yeah. And remember, we were like, what?
Yeah. We all were like,
I remember you had us guessing names, and for like 20 minutes, nobody had a freaking clue.
Oh, because the question was who was RB2 after or something like that.
Yeah, it was who was RB2 after ETN?
After ETN, and y'all could not guess. Like, y'all couldn't guess. Nobody. I started offering money, and people still couldn't guess.
True.
I remember.
And then Nico was like wide receiver 1.
Yeah, he was up there high. I don't even remember Devonta Smith being on the list.
No, but that was before Devonta Smith.
But I'm just saying, I don't remember even him being on. Point is, Jake. Hey, I think you got a nice little, I think he won the RB2 spot, right? Like, I know they had some P run there, but I think it's something. Huh?
They cut Travion Williams and they cut Puka. So there's
they're trying to slide Puka onto the practice squad.
Yeah, I think if anything were to happen to Mixon, I think Chris Evans would be at least automatic flex play. You know what I'm saying? Yep. I'm trying to be conservative here, but if something were to happen to Mixon, I think he's a solid flex play. So I like him in Dynasty. I know he's a little bit older, but I like him in Dynasty for sure still.
And Ray, the question we started off the show with was, who was your most surprising cut? We already talked about, mine was Gallman. We talked about Cam. Who else? We talked about Smoke Brown as well. Anybody outside of that was super surprising to you to see get cut?
Not really.
Yeah.
Nah.
Those are some of the main ones.
I think the reverse of that question is who am I most surprised is still there or made it. And the Samis Reyes kid from Washington, Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, big athletic. I have no clue if he can play or not. I literally have no clue. But the fact that a rookie tight end who who had no experience made it, that just made me take notice. I went and looked for him on Dynasty waivers just to see if he was out there.
Yeah.
He's got a good person to learn behind in Logan Thomas. So the fact that he made it was pretty shocking to me because I thought he, feel good story, cool to get him in, but we ain't finna start this dude. Like, we ain't finna play this guy. He's not gonna make our team, but shit, he made the team.
The crazy part too for him was he's an athletic marvel, right? Like, that's what made him, be able to make that team. But the steady drumbeat all offseason was been how much he's surprised them as far as blocking goes, because he's so physical and how he was able to pick up the blocking schemes and just the technique. So I definitely think it's a guy to stash, especially in tight end premium leagues, but just a cool story all around. And hopefully it happens, man. Obviously Logan Thomas made something happen there, and that's, a unique road to the tight end stardom. So it's crazy. I like that. That's a good call out. Michael said, Ja. Nah.
It's not our single. I did see your tweet though, Ray. How is Royce Freeman still in Denver?
Yeah, man. Free Royce, man. Let Royce go get work somewhere else. The fact that he's still just 25 still blows my mind. Feels like he's been in the NFL for 10 years.
Yeah.
Just buried.
Oh, there you go. There's your guy.
Here it is. Chris Herndon, the trade to the
But
Vikings.
I still believe in Herndon. I don't care what I say.
Hey, this is
There's no way
probably
to do
best
this.
case scenario.
There's no way that dude was so good as a rookie and then just stinks after. There's no way. I'm not buying it, bro. I'm still in on her.
Yeah,
He went
that-
Benjamin
it's-
Button as a kid. He's just going backwards.
Wow.
Supposed to get better, and he doesn't.
Yeah,
Right.
man, it's no, but you definitely. I mean, he's gonna have a chance, right? Like
how
Tyler
long-
Conklin.
hey,
Sorry to
how
all the
long-
truthers out there.
How long is this show? Y'all already passed my time limit. You know I do
Oh, we
20 to 30. Y'all can keep talking, but I gotta go. I don't do long shows.
yeah. No, we're good. Yeah, we Brandon is all about the long shows. I'm all about the short
All right,
shows,
well,
and somehow
y'all-
we end somewhere in the middle.
Don't leave on my core. Get the people what they want, but shit, I gotta go.
Always.
So y'all have
Good
right.
seeing you, man. Appreciate you, Ray.
See you, Ray.
There we go. Ray jumping in. You never know. Yeah, that's why y'all got to jump in. Make sure you like and subscribe and add us on for the alerts because you might get anything on this show. It's definitely
I thought
the
Jordan Richards was coming
unscripted.
in. We all thought he was. We got
Yeah,
this guy
you
coming
saw
in
it.
thinking we got Jay Rich coming in, and all of a sudden King Ray shows up.
No, it's crazy. So, oh man, Evan said, "Here we go." Yeah,
Yeah,
man, perfect 10.
I got
JB, take
some
that
on
away.
this too. Yeah, so I mean, this aside, the guy who runs RAS, that math bomb guy, I got connected with him, and he gave me an output of everybody going back to 2004. So RAS will be in our metric database very soon.
Oh damn! Let's go. I appreciate
Yep.
that. That's dope. You
That'll
pretty
be
excited for that
announced.
one?
Yeah, no, I mean that'll be cool. I know when that comes around every spring with the, I guess not the combine this year, but all the pro days, people are going nuts on Twitter every day. So obviously, I mean, it'd be cool to see if this actually does translate. I'm sure it does in some way, shape, or form, but just having it as a potential metric that we can use is huge. I mean, every point of data is useful.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. I was trying to see man, yeah. If you guys have not looked up Sammy Reyes, go check him out on YouTube. It's a crazy, crazy story, crazy athlete, and I'm excited. I'm excited for that one. What we say, Evan said Herndon feels like another Christine Michael sucks him back every year just to disappoint. Hey, we'll see what's up. We'll see what's up. But let's see. I don't see any questions coming in. Any other questions? This will be your last probably 30 seconds to get one in. And then we'll kind of wind down the show because I definitely think we'll be jumping on again soon. And as we have mentioned on past unscripted, unscheduled shows, you're probably going to see some from us on Saturday nights pretty consistently just to talk about start sits, what happened potentially in college football that day, really just an unscripted version where we're going to be there to answer questions for you. I know we could do it on Sunday morning, but if you can't figure out when a guy is listed as out that you probably shouldn't start him, I don't know what to do for you anyway. So we'll make the call on Saturday nights, and you can do the rest in the morning there. Evan,
All right.
So JB, that's straight fire to add to the database, man. We know if anyone can find out how to correlate, it'll be you. Shout out to JB. JB is the dude, man. All right,
Oh my.
B, anything to take us out, man? Anything before we get out of here?
No, just enjoy college football this weekend. That's really we didn't even talk about everything that's coming this week. It's like football's back, right? It's back. Can we just say it's back? Enough with the back and forth arguing and whether or not this guy is going to be this or whether he's going to be that. Like we're getting to the point now where we can finally just enjoy football, right? That like, and I think that's why we all enjoy what we do. Like even other fantasy football analysts or people who just sit and talk like we're doing, like all we do is because we're fiending for football, and that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for this weekend. There's some really good matchups. Clemson, Georgia is probably the one that I'm going to be glued to. Like that. I mean, there's other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. JB's not in his head because I'm sure he knows a few. We get to see Ohio State this week. We get to see Alabama. We get to see all of I think it's LSU and UCLA. Like there's going to be some good matchups here. We're going to start to see some of our 2022, 2023 Devy prospects that, Ben, you've been talking about for a few years now that are going to continue to hit. Maybe you want to talk about that one guy from I'm going to leave it alone, but maybe you touch on him at the end.
I'm not giving out nothing tonight. Nope, nothing tonight for the Devy world. Come check me out for Friday's show, though. I got you.
There you go.
Yeah. JB, anything before we get out of here, man?
No, I mean, Brandon summed it up. Let's enjoy college football. We've been waiting for this. There's the good matchup. Bama plays Miami. I mean, it's going to be fun. I mean, Ben really got me onto a guy, and I don't want to spoil anything.
Feel free.
But
go ahead. If you can bring up anybody you want.
Troy Franklin. I am so pumped to see him. I saw on Twitter he's like one of the only – I shouldn't say only, but one of the big freshmen to be starting. So I'm pretty pumped to see him play.
Oh, yeah. Big things coming from – hey, this is Devonta Smith of Oregon. I'm putting it out there, man. He's definitely got that type of talent. So we'll see how he develops. But a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun. Appreciate you big time, JB. And you know what? I have something coming roughly 3.5 weeks out now, or maybe a whole month. We'll see. But I got a whole nother show coming. I'm not going to announce the name of it yet. I have a big name co-host as well. So I'm super, super excited. It will be outside of the Elite Seekers family. But I'm telling y'all, if you just enjoy sports and stories, it's gonna be big. So please make sure you follow along, you're subscribed, and you're paying attention, because I'm so pumped to bring y'all another weekly show. And hey,
it's a good
the
one.
grind is on. The season's
It's
here.
a good one. I've already heard some of the secrets, and I'm telling y'all, tap in now. Tap in now. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be good. Hey, let's get it, though. Appreciate you guys. Make sure hit us up for anything you need. And we'll be back soon. Anytime, unscripted, unscheduled. That's how we roll at Elite Seekers, aside from that Friday show. So that's all we got. Elite Seekers out.